If you've ever blasted synth beats from your boombox or burned CDs for your besties, this one's for you. As people get older, much like their music tastes, their health needs change. AG1 is the simple daily health drink designed to deliver over 75 essential daily nutrients and pre- and probiotics to support energy, digestion, and mood, so you can make the most out of every decade and dance break. Learn more at drinkag1.com.
Expedia and Visit Scotland invite you to come experience the beauty that awaits in Scotland. The sweep of wild coastlines, quiet lochs, and untamed landscapes. Fresh cuisine that feels rooted in the land. Come experience the kind of stillness that stays with you long after you leave. Plan your Scottish escape today at expedia.com/Visit Scotland.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
I'm JJ Virgin, PhD dropout, sorry mom, turned 4-time New York Times bestselling author. Yes, I'm a certified nutrition specialist, fitness Hall of Famer, and I speak at health conferences and trainings around the globe. But I'm driven by my insatiable curiosity and love of science to keep asking questions, digging for answers, and sharing the information I uncover with as many people as I can. And that's why I created the Well Beyond 40 podcast, to synthesize and simplify the science of health into actionable strategies to help you thrive. In each episode, we'll talk about what's working in the world of wellness, from personalized nutrition and healing your metabolism to healthy aging and prescriptive fitness. Join me on the journey to better health so you can love how you look and feel right now and have the energy to play full out at 100. When you think of menopause, your mind probably goes straight to the negative. Hot flashes, mood swings, body changes. But what if I told you menopause could be an opportunity for growth, empowerment, and even career reinvention? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a subject that affects every woman, yet is rarely discussed openly, especially in the workplace. For decades, women have been navigating the challenges of menopause while trying to maintain our professional lives, often suffering in silence. Have you ever gotten a hot flash during an important presentation or brain fog in a big meeting? How about struggling to keep up your energy before 5 p.m.? I mean, these are realities many of us face, but we're just not talking about it. Today, we have the incredible Tamsen Fadal on the show to talk about how menopause doesn't have to derail our careers or diminish our quality of life. After 30 years as an award-winning news anchor, Tamsen experienced her own menopause journey in the high-pressure, public-facing world of broadcast journalism. This firsthand experience sparked a passion that led her to completely shift her career focus. Now she's dedicated to changing the conversation around women's health and workplace equality with a special emphasis on menopause awareness and support. Tamsen brings a unique blend of personal experience and professional expertise to our discussion. She's the co-producer of The M Factor, Shredding the Silence on Menopause, an absolutely groundbreaking documentary on PBS. She's also the author of the upcoming book, How to Menopause, which promises to be the girlfriend-vetted guide we've all been waiting for. In this episode, we're going to unpack the realities of menopause in the workplace, explore strategies for managing symptoms while maintaining your professional edge, discuss how we can create more supportive environments for women in all stages of life, and so much more. Whether you're approaching menopause, in the thick of it, or want to better support the women in your life, this conversation is packed with insights that will change the way you think about this phase of life. Let's dive in.
If we knew more about our sleep, what would we do differently? Would we go to bed at a consistent time or take steps to reduce interruptions to our sleep? With Sleep Score, Apple Watch measures your bedtime consistency, interruptions, and sleep duration. Then, Every morning, it combines these factors into an easy-to-understand score from 1 to 100. So you'll know how to take the quality of your sleep from okay to very high. Know your sleep score with Apple Watch. iPhone 11 or later required.
This episode is brought to you by Truly Hard Seltzer. We're always in touch, but nothing beats actually being together. This summer, grab a Truly Hard Seltzer. Light, bubbly, fruity, and make your dreams come truly. Truly is the official hard seltzer of U.S. Soccer. Visit trulyhardseltzer.com/locations to find Truly near you. Hard Seltzer Beverage Company, LLC, Boston, Massachusetts. Hard Seltzer, 5% alcohol by volume. Please drink responsibly. 21 plus only.
Welcome to the show, Tamsen Fadal.
Nice to
Crazy
see
it
you.
had to take this long to actually meet you, although I think we've met somewhere along the line.
I think we've met too.
Yes. Well, you're in like just this crazy spot, and I'm really excited to dig into everything you're doing, from having a book coming out, How to Menopause, and a documentary coming out. But I think what's most interesting is you, with 30 years in news anchoring, got to go through your menopause journey on air, didn't you?
I did. I didn't know that was going to be the story, but yeah, it that happened.
Like in broadcast news where he was sweating, was that you, but the female version?
That was me. That was me in the dress with the little, it's just, it's interesting. It's funny, TV news, and I think just in our generation, it was always about like staying young, not sharing your age, not talking about it, not aging in front of the camera. So for that to happen was kind of ironic, to say the very least, that for somebody who was trying to be so buttoned up all the time, I didn't have much of a choice at some point.
Yeah. So walk me through your menopause journey. Like, when did it start? Because you've made a massive shift and really taken on menopause being a major out there advocate, which is incredible. So walk me through your career and how this happened.
Yeah. It's funny. I wasn't paying attention to any of those things. I'd had all these symptoms. Now, as I look back, understand what it was. The can't sleep, body's different, eating less, gaining more, working out the same, exhausted, gaining weight around the middle, and feeling a lot of brain fog. Didn't even have a word for it at that point.
When was that?
It was in my mid 40s. I'd gone through a divorce in my early 40s, and I always attributed everything to that. It was years of it. It was a lot of stress. It was a lot of fighting. It was a lot of all those things, right? And so anytime I would have a problem, I'd go, I'm just so stressed out. I'm so stressed out I can't sleep. I'm so stressed out I can't think. And that was kind of where I left it. And at 49, it was November of 49. It was one night I was on the air, and I'd been having a lot of anxiety of like being on the air, which I'd not had. When you're out there for
30 years, why would you have anxiety?
Yeah, you don't have anxiety anymore. And people would say, like, do you get nervous? And I'd go, no. But I was having that, it was a little lack of confidence. I'd look at a word, I couldn't remember it, but I knew the word. And so those things were happening, but they weren't happening consistent enough where I'd say, like, I need to go see a, brain specialist. And then this particular night, we were in a commercial break, and I worked in a studio of all men, men camera operators, men anchors, sports anchor, all men. And I was feeling like off. I knew we were coming back from a commercial break. I was on fire, like everything was sweating. And I felt my heart just banging out of control. And I thought, I'm going to throw up, pass out. I don't know what's going on. And I said jokingly, because I didn't know if I was going to make it through this next segment, which was a segment I always did, which was the business report. So I knew it was like just on me. Mm-hmm. I said, if I fall over, somebody catch me. And the sports guy who was across the studio said, wait, are you joking? And I said, I don't know. And he goes, I think you should get off the set. And so he walked me to the bathroom, and I laid on the floor. Not something I would do in my right mind, buttoned up person, in my sheath news dress. And then it passed. He's like, are you okay? Is it your heart? Is it your, I was like, I don't know what it is. I left. I didn't finish the newscast that night. They finished it out for me. And the following week, I made an appointment with my gynecologist, and then I talked to my therapist, and then I went to an endocrinologist to do blood work as a result of the gynecologist. And then not too long after that, I got a note in my patient portal that said, "In menopause, any questions?" You know how they like write little doctor notes?
In menopause, any questions?
Yeah. And I was actually in Tampa at the time.
How funny. And did you have any sense, and the reason I ask this is one of my closest friends, literally I hadn't seen her for months, and we got together before an event, and we were going to spend a couple days at the spa together, and she walks in and she's put on like 10 pounds. She doesn't look like herself. She's completely stressed out. She thinks it's because she's been moving. She's stressed. Same story.
Yeah. Sure.
And I'm like, no, you're not. You're in menopause. Like,
I love that she had a friend to say that, though. That's amazing.
That's crazy. She's in the health space. I'm like, come on.
Well, but sometimes, right, what's in front of us. Well, you know what's interesting? So, I mean, this is a little TMI, but I had endometrium polyps. So, you go 12 months without your period. So I would get like bleeding constantly. And I'd had all the big, like a month of bleeding, no bleeding for 6 months. And so that must have been my perimenopause part that I thought was more stress. But because of endometrium polyps, you bleed. I still bleed. So I didn't realize that. I wasn't like I went a year, never saw anything, never had, never had that one of the markers, right? So for me, that wasn't my sign. But all those other symptoms should have been. Anyway, so I got that in my patient portal, and my then husband now. Then boyfriend, now husband, I said, like, I'm in menopause. Like, I can't, I'm only 49 and, average age. And I said, I can't have kids. And he goes, you made that, didn't we make that decision? And I was like, I know, but like, now it's official. And he goes, okay, yeah, let's talk about it when we land, because we were getting on a plane. Anyway, that's where it started. But I think what morphed into this next place was just really kind of like looking at a lot of the research and the numbers and trying to understand how it happened. And then I wanted to like figure out how to take care of myself. I lost my mother to breast cancer. I didn't know hormone therapy was an option. I'd always thought that it wasn't. And so the more I went down this, down into like looking at research, and because that's what I know how to do, I just know how to ask a lot of questions. I realized that a lot of women had the same questions that I did. And I think that's really where it started. I don't know if it was one particular this is what I'm going to do, because it never was. It just continued to be something that I couldn't stop talking about.
You're a journalist, and you just put your focus on menopause, and we're very happy you did, because it's still amazing to me. And in fact, just having a girlfriend going through this, I'm like, why is this not out here?
I know.
I know. And it was interesting when I started going through it. I've been teaching a course for years to healthcare practitioners about weight loss resistance and all of the different things that could get in the way of you losing weight or cause you to gain weight. One, of course, is menopause, right? Despite the fact that you'll hear from people going, "Oh, your metabolism doesn't change." I'm like, you must be a man.
Yeah. Mine's changed.
Because my mother called it shifting sands, where your butt now looks like your gut. And I'm like, I'm not having that. I will not be having that.
I refuse.
I had bleedy gums.
Oh, wow. Yeah, some of the things are crazy symptoms, right?
Right.
What was that? Was it a lack of estrogen?
Low estrogen. My dentist was like, "Oh, low estrogen." And I'm like, Then, I think back, I owned a gym and wellness center at the time, and I had, all my clients basically from the time I've been 20 have been women 45 plus.
Okay.
And I remember getting women coming in, and now I understand from Dr. Vonda Wright what this is, but frozen shoulder.
Yeah.
Who would have ever thought?
Brutal. I had no idea what that was. I had no idea. So did you have women that were dealing with it? Because I realized when I couldn't put my arm around somebody to take a picture, and I went, oh my gosh, did I catch frozen shoulder from someone in this room? We were at a conference. And I was like, no, I haven't. You know what? I will say what is interesting, going back to bleeding gums, in the documentary that we did, dental. I didn't know dental was ever a part of this. Like, I learned a lot through this process, which is always kind of, why I love to do these kind of things and research things, especially this, because I haven't done very many stories that really affected me. I did news stories, at Afghanistan or whatever city I was in, or the crime. I never did something that I was really dealing with. But I didn't realize that women lose teeth in menopause. I didn't realize bleeding. I didn't understand all of those things from a dental perspective too. It just like no area is untouched in a lot of ways.
Right. So let's start with that because I love the fact that you did this documentary, you've written this book, so you've got a lot of wisdom and pearls here. What were the top questions that you were asking? You said that you were getting asked by other people. What were some of these questions?
Yeah. I mean, I think the big one was the one I had myself, like, what are some of my options out there, hormonal and non-hormonal? I lost my mom to breast cancer. She was diagnosed at 44. So that was always kind of something that sat over me. That was kind of my cloud of fear. And so when I realized what I was dealing with, and then I went back to see what my options were, because that wasn't part of the patient portal. It was like, hey, you got this. And then it wasn't, hey, here are some things you might want to keep in mind, options. So I went back to find my options, which is why I went from doctor to doctor. And I didn't think hormone therapy was one of them. So that was one question that I get a lot, like, isn't it dangerous? And so what I didn't understand was there was a study that was done in 2002 that had a lot of misinformation. A lot of women were very confused. The next big question is, what else can I do if I don't want to do hormone therapy? What are the lifestyle changes? Is it true that my workout has to change? Is it true that I'm still gaining weight when I'm not changing how I'm eating or working out? That was another really big one. And then, I think the third one, which is something that we're still trying to wrap our heads around, is why doctors haven't been educated on it. And one doctor after another is more than happy to admit that they got very little training in medical school. And I think that part is the part that maybe shocked me more. I didn't know to ask that question. I just realized it after talking to enough doctors that they were saying the same thing. But doctors sometimes get 1 hour, sometimes get 1 week, get very little training on menopause. And so when a woman finishes her having children, and she's in her, 45 years old, kind of healthcare goes off of a cliff for her. She just sort of doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, and she goes off a cliff if not taken care of.
Exactly.
It was interesting to me early on. I was doing seminars with this doctor out of Santa Barbara who is a brilliant endocrinologist, and Suzanne Summers' doctor, and started to go into all of this. And at first, she was told she couldn't do menopause treatment as an endocrinologist. And she's like, I'm a hormone specialist. Like if I can't do it. And then you look at it and go, well, if the OB-GYNs aren't trained in it,
right,
and the endocrinologist supposedly, who's
who? Yeah, I know. Well, that's the frustrating thing for me. And when I hear myself give women the answer, trust your gut and your body best. And while I do believe that 1,000%, I think it sucks to put the onus on the woman to try to make these decisions themselves with very little information.
Right. Well, and the information out there being like that Women's Health Initiative that is just ridiculous. We actually broke it down on this show did you have Dr. Felice Gersh? Did you happen to interview her?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Oh my gosh, she's one you'll definitely want to. I'll link to the interview because she broke down the Women's Health Initiative, and she actually now focuses on what she calls the forgotten women. And when you think about it, it's that woman 65 plus who, got screwed by the Women's Health Initiative.
They're very angry too.
Right. And they think they can't go on hormones, and she's actually going and putting them on hormones. So I think that's one of those myths out there. So yeah, let's bust through some of these myths and some of the stuff that you learned as you did the documentary. And then I'd also love to voyeur into what you do too. But as far as the whole HRT question, having been able now to interview a lot of different doctors, what did you unpack about that?
Yeah, I think what I unpacked for myself personally and then shared continually was the contraindications of who cannot do it or should not do it or it's not recommended for. And I always thought because I was a daughter of a mother that had breast cancer, that was off the table for me. And that's not the case. I myself didn't have breast cancer. And so I am eligible for it. And it is one of the things that I do. And it has made a big difference, And I was one of the people that was like, never, I'm going to handle it all myself because I can suck it up and get through it. But
I think that's like women that say they're going to have natural childbirth, and then all of a sudden they're like,
I was natural hormone. But yeah, so anyway, so that was one of the big ones that I think that was very enlightening to me to be able to understand and to share for people to understand that and what they can do and who is able to do hormone therapy. I think the other thing is understanding that the age group that they were looking at with that 2002 study was not even the age group we're talking about. It's now the age group you were talking about with the forgotten women age group.
Yeah.
And 3, what they were actually looking at there, this was studying something completely different. And so I do feel a huge responsibility as a member of the media to know that those headlines went out there. There was a lot of misinformation, and that's never really been corrected or rectified. And the fact that we really haven't done another study like that to help the next generation of women that are looking at going into this transition.
Which is bizarre. Why do you think that is?
Oh, I mean, come on, give me the, women, that's the first part. That's the first answer, women. Second part is we're still fighting for dollars. The third part is we weren't even part of health studies until, in the 90s. It's the things that I learn. I constantly don't want to be shocked, and I am. And I thought we got past all this, and we haven't. And so I think that's why I couldn't stop talking about it. I think that's why. Look, I've done millions of stories, tens of thousands of stories, and I never found one that was that took me here, and I couldn't, stop following it.
So what did you find as for those who don't? Although I'll share a story. I had a woman come up to me, and after I'd done a talk, about diet and exercise, all the lifestyle stuff, and she goes, "I'm doing all of that." Mm-hmm. She goes, I cannot lose the weight. I cannot, she goes, but I want to do this naturally. I'm like, your body produces hormones naturally. Yeah. You're going to help it go back to, you're going to give it back what it had. So where would that be unnatural? So, I always want to say that because I think we have this idea, and I'm like, but what were some of those recommendations? I will say, full disclosure, and I just don't see them compared to taking the hormones. Like it's not even close.
Oh, doing those things
I think you do those things to support so you can use the least amount of hormones. But
I think look, I did all those things, a lot of those things. I continue to do those things. I didn't stop doing them because
And what are those things for you?
Oh, for the workouts? Yeah. Well, so for hormone therapy, real fast, I do estradiol. I did your progesterone, made a huge difference in my sleep. And I am now doing topical testosterone, 1/10 of a man's, amount of testosterone. So that's what I do with hormone therapy. And I'm open about it. And I'll be honest, I was one of the ones that initially was like, I don't want to talk about it. But now I'm like, yes, here's my patch. Here's my dirty glue on my waist.
I know. Someone needs to figure that out so it doesn't look like you've got all these like...
I think I'm like, do I not bathe properly? Like, why does it always look so dirty at the end of the 3.5 days? But anyway, that is something, I don't know, to be continued. Maybe we have a product in the works that you and I will brainstorm on.
Let's do it.
So with regard to food, I think intermittent fasting worked for me because I worked nights. I worked until midnight every night. And so I didn't, I ate my dinner at like 8:00 at my very latest, and I didn't get up until a little bit later. So that kind of framework worked for me. So I've kept that going. I've upped my protein. It's been very hard. I'll be honest. Like it's not so easy for me to do. I'm learning.
And why is that?
Well, I came from the 80s, and in the 80s, you restricted your calories, and protein and fats were bad, and
Susan Powder reigned.
Good, right? So
insanity. Remember?
Yeah, of course I did. Of course, I've got all those. Protein. I started with the Fit for Life diet, if you remember that one. So
yes,
until noon. I've done them all. So. But that was hard for me because protein really wasn't a focus of mine. So it had to been. So that's a big one. So I break my fast with what I call like my hot girl menopause smoothie. I just like dump everything in it I can think of that I need for this: fiber, greens, protein. So that's what I try to do to get that down every day and make sure.
And how much are you getting protein-wise in your hot girl?
I try to do 25 grams per meal, and it's really hard. It's really hard, but I try, and that's, I know that I should even be doing more than that, but that's where I am right now.
I'll give you a little hack.
Give me a hack, I'll take one.
Now, I don't normally like hacks, but in this situation,
advice.
This is very important because getting in those is, we're eating the protein for the essential amino acids.
Yeah.
And I know that some people find it hard. Personally, I could just, if there was one diet I had to follow for the rest of my life, I would be like, I'd be hand in hand with Sean Baker eating a big ribeye. I've always been that way. I've always been like that.
That's you know what? At least you know the protein game.
It's always been, and even in the 80s, hey, 80s, I was in LA. So what I have to do, I had to be a vegan and I had to eat.
Gosh, LA, yeah.
Yeah, I was in LA during the heyday. I was one of the first personal trainers in LA. I had to be a vegan. I had to eat like 10 grams of fat because I was working out of the Pritikin Center. So I had to take everything to extremes. It was ridiculous. And I was cystic acne, felt like crap, got endometritis. I mean, everything just tanked. And then I was like, okay, forget that.
Yeah, this is
However, we're eating that protein for those amino acids. One thing you can do is kind of a little cheat, a little hack, is you get essential amino acids.
Okay.
And even if you give me your address, not on after, I will send you mine. And it is what I literally go to the gym every day with my creatine, my essential amino acids, and my electrolytes. But it is how you know that you get them so you're not grabbing them from your muscles.
Okay,
right?
I love that.
So there you go. That's a little hack. Okay, so you're eating your protein.
That's fine.
How has your workout shifted over the years?
Yeah. Well, I was on the treadmill every day for hours. Like, okay, I had a stick of gum for 5 calories and burned off. It was ridiculous, and it makes me sad because a lot of wasted time, a lot of wasted mental energy, and and I tackled an eating disorder in my early 20s. I was on television, and so that has changed quite a bit, and I do a lot of yoga, a lot of Pilates, and I love strength training. And I've always loved strength training, which is good. But I always thought that was an afterthought versus more important. So now I've switched how I do those two things, which is really nice. I enjoy that. Love walking, and I walk with weights. So that's fun. Let's see. Sleep has gotten much better. I was one of the people that used to brag about, I got 4 hours last night. I'm doing great. And I've learned to not think of that as a luxury. And I try, meditation, but that's, I'm at 100 miles an hour all the time. So I do try to just take those moments and walk outside when I need to breathe a little bit.
Yeah, one of the things that I did with our mutual friend Teresa is I've been to a bunch of Dr. Joe Dispenza retreats.
Yes.
And it happened during the pandemic. I was like, what else am I going to do? And so that's what I had to do is literally stick myself somewhere for 7 days.
Immerse yourself somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it takes for sure. Though I did go to IIN, which is an integrative nutrition school in New York, and it's funny. I did this in Bryant Park just last week. This big outdoor yoga class in the middle of New York City. And there's probably 500 plus people, and Deepak did a meditation for the beginning of it, and I was like, it was 20 minutes, and I went, I'm never going to be able to sit still. I'm going to be jumping out of my skin. And it wound up, I sat there and I was like, oh my gosh, did I meditate for 20 minutes today? So that was kind of cool in the middle of New York while traffic's going everywhere, and just kind of
the Deepak effect.
I mean, Deepak did it. So if I can't do it with him, who can I have no hope.
So anything, what else major have you either let go of, since kind of getting into all of this stuff, changing your schedule? What have you just gone, this was ridiculous thinking, just like the cardio to eat behavior that we all used to have?
Yeah. I think that it's a couple of things. It's funny. There's 2 things in particular. One's probably a longer story, but I spent a long time in my life. This has nothing to do with really leaving work, but just maybe growing up a little bit of what did I do wrong? Why is that person mad at me? Is it my fault? Is it my fault? So I've really tried to let that go. I did it for a long time, and then I was like, someday I won't be that way because I'll be a grown up and older, and I won't take things so personally. So that's one of those things. And I think the other one is that spending that time with family. I was always working my butt off, missed a lot of holidays, went through a nasty divorce, spent a lot of time single. I got remarried at 50 years old. So that was a whole new, stage of life. Mm-hmm. But I think I realized this is the someday that I'm living right now, and I'm not going to get another one. And days are going by and it's not forever. So I've spent a lot of time with my 84-year-old dad this year. I took him to Spain, brought him to California. Like I've really tried to work hard when I'm working hard, but be in those moments when I'm in those moments, because I feel like they're very fleeting right now. And I'm a little afraid of that. So I'm really trying to, my quote is like, this is, like you're living your someday today. So I keep trying to think about that. Today is my.
It's baseball, but so much more. Go bananas for Banana Ball with ESPN on Disney+. The greatest show in sports.
Are you kidding me?
Is the phenomenon everyone's talking about.
The trick play to the plate.
Catch the Savannah Bananas and other fan favorite teams all season long with select games streaming with ESPN on Disney+.
Let's go!
U.S. residents, 18 plus only. Select Banana Ball games available to all Disney Plus subscribers. Terms apply.
Someday. Yeah.
Well, so now you're living your someday. You've made a massive shift in your career.
Yeah.
You gave up you gave up 30 years. You shifted off of that. What made you decide to stop that?
Yeah, it was a long decision. It wasn't like an overnight, like whimsical Tamsen decision, which sometimes I make those. This one took a lot of soul searching. It was a couple of things. I really got immersed in this space of understanding women and longevity and this story and understanding the need for sharing this message. That was one. And then two, I think it was a little bit of all that we're talking about is this like living your someday today. I was working 4 newscasts a day, 5 days a week from 1 o'clock until 11 o'clock, 11:30 every night. By the time I got home, I'd recently gotten married. I was able to take, a certain amount of weeks off every year. And I wasn't able to do some of the things I really wanted to do day to day, which was have these conversations. And these conversations, I feel like really feed me. And so I figured that if there was no other time to do it than now. And so I spent some time preparing and then finally took the leap. And it was scary as hell. It really was. I know what I knew how to do for a very long time. Go into work, tell my stories, anchor the news, go out and report on things. But I didn't know how to do what I'm doing now, which is every day is very different. And sometimes I have to learn more about what I'm talking about, and I'm learning new things every day. So it's scary and exciting all at the same time.
And there's another piece to it. It's personal.
Yeah, it's really personal. It's those other stories, as big as some of them were, and some of them would include the city of New York or the city of Tampa or wherever, where I was living at the time. But this one's really personal, and it's not just personal to me, but personal to the women that are coming up behind us and my friends and family and women that are going through divorce right now as a result of like feeling out of sorts or just, learning who they are now versus who they were 20 years ago. So I see a lot of myself in each one of these stories, and I think that that's what drove me to do the film, which took like 2.5 to 3 years to do. And in news, you find a story in the morning and it's on the air by the evening. So for me to have that amount of patience was unbelievable. But it's really incredible to hear the stories. I'm sure you are approached 10 times more by women that have been helped by this or at least see themselves in some of the work. And so that makes a big, huge difference to me. And
Tell us about this, the document. I didn't realize you spent 2.5, 3 years on the documentary. They take a long, I did one and I was like, oh my gosh, a year later.
I had no idea.
Yeah, you have no idea. It's good you don't. It's good you don't.
Yeah, I had no idea. I was like, we're going to do a film.
This will be great. It'll be fun.
It'll be fun. And it's funny, one of the first times my partner is a woman who was an executive producer at the Today Show, Joanne LaMarca, and she and I got together because another friend of ours said, you two just keep talking about menopause all the time and I'm so tired of hearing about it. Why don't you guys talk to each other? And that's literally how we met. And we were
really, that's hilarious.
That's how we met. And we were on the phone the first time, like an hour and a half. And by the end of the call, I'm like, and here's my patch, and here's my vaginal estrogen. It was unbelievable. So anyway, that's how we started. And we started toward the end of the pandemic when we went out to Times Square and we got masks that said like, something like, I'm in menopause, like in this pink mask, and we were asking people questions. We're like, could we talk to you about do you know what menopause, we were so, like, we had no idea. But anyway, so we went out there, but what we realized in doing that was like a lot of people were very confused and had a lot of the same questions and they just didn't know what they didn't know. So fast forward, we started to talk to some doctors in the space, like Dr. Sharon Malone, Dr. Lisa Mosconi, a neuroscientist. We started saying like, hey, would you talk to us about, what we don't know? And then we wound up partnering with two very experienced filmmakers and documentarians over on the West Coast, Denise Pines and Kobe Atlas. And it turns out Kobe and Joanne had worked together years ago. And so, and then we got word that it was going to be on PBS. And so October 17th, it finally comes out. We wound up talking to a lot of real women, other doctors. We talked about workplace. We really expanded a lot of the conversation because we didn't know what we were going to be talking about, 2.5 to 3 years ago, and a lot's changed, and we had to update some different things too. But yeah, it's been really incredible. And the response we've had has just been, I'm just kind of blown away by it.
We'll put in the notes how people can watch it. So what are like 3 big highlights from the documentary?
Yeah, I think the first one would be understanding sex and testosterone. That's one of the big ones that we talked about.
What is up with the fact, like, it is just unbelievable to me that the top hormone of sex hormone we have is not covered by insurance.
Not covered by insurance and not made for us.
It's just crazy.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And one of the people that really is at the forefront of that campaign is Dr. Kelly Casperson. So we did talk to her, and we go into real detail about it to understand it. We did talk about WHI and the Women's Health Study, and those are, of course, where that was, where we are today, what that resulted in. And then the other big one, I think the takeaway for me was brain with Dr. Lisa Mosconi.
She's fantastic.
She's just incredible, and done so much research on it, and really gives you hope that on the other side of things that you really do rebound, in this postmenopausal, after you've gone through some of these really difficult years. So what we wanted in the end was to really feel hopeful too, not like these are all the things that are going to be awful and then we don't have any other answers. We wanted to make sure that it felt hopeful, and I think that was one of the big things that came out of it for me anyway. And so it's, we talked to a lot of real women going through real issues, whether it's sex, whether it's, we talked to Audra McDonald, one of the big Broadway celebrity, because she had shared a real raw post on Instagram a few years ago, talking about how it just kind of hit her and she had no idea where it came from. So there were some surprises though to me, and I learned along the way. And dental was one of the big surprises. I had no idea, and I had been having teeth problems. I cracked my tooth. I had to have a root canal. I'm like, I used to have great teeth. What happened? So I realized menopause happened.
Oh, and you're in LA. You're around the best functional dentist on the planet near you.
Oh. Well, who do I have here? Because I need a whole list.
Dr. Sanda Moldovan's near you, and she is amazing. The interesting thing here, and what I'm really hoping this documentary gets out, because we talked a little bit about people not even recognizing the symptoms. I think we're so easily saying, "Oh, it's stress," "Oh, it's right," and not recognizing it for what it is. And I was so fortunate that all my friends were hormone docs. So the minute things started to go sideways with me, I was on hormones from the beginning.
That's great. And you mean starting in perimenopause?
Yes. Oh, yes, yes. The minute things dropped, I was on hormones. I never wasn't. And I can tell anyone listening, like, you actually don't have to suffer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And I think that's the misconception, and that's really why we wanted to do this, because everybody should be able to have this information, and I think that and that's also why we're sharing. We want the documentary to be shared in communities, so if somebody said, like, I didn't catch it, or I want to go sit and watch it with 10 of my girlfriends, or I want to, show it to somebody. And it's really important for us people to have that. And we want it to educate too. We want them to understand that it's not them. And I think that's part of the problem. We have that blame of like, is it just me? Am I not just toughing it out enough? Maybe I just get through this, it'll be okay. And even, I have a lot of of friends that still they're like, oh no, I breezed through it. And now on the other side of it, they're having some problems, And so I was like, you didn't breeze through it. You just, you dealt with a lot of it. And maybe you had a higher tolerance for a lot of different things. But so it's important to really share that. And I agree with you.
Well, and even if they did breeze through that part of it, the other side of it with issues with bone mineral density and cognition and cardiovascular, you have to make informed decisions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So that's a big one. Now, you are double crazy because not only did you do a documentary, you also wrote a book.
Double crazy, yes, I did. I didn't think it was all going to happen at the same time, but it wound up. But yes, these are like years in the making. I mean, you know how this is. They're like years in the making. But the book is is out for pre-order now, called How to Menopause. And it's funny, I struggled with that title for a long time.
I love the title. It's so perfect.
I'm so happy to hear that. You have no idea. You know what it's like.
Oh, yes, I do.
You're in your own world, and you're like completely insecure about what you've done, and you're now going to release it to the world, and you're like hoping it's accepted. So I didn't know what to call this book. So I was like, coming in hot? Is it like when life gives you hot flashes? But I didn't know what it was. I was trying to be, but I didn't want it to be a ha-ha. That was what was really important to me. I wanted it to bridge the gap between, conversations, and some are funny and some are humorous, but serious, because there's a lot of serious topics we're covering. And I don't think that menopause ends in the doctor's office. And that was what was really important for me. So I was like, well, I wanted it to be kind of like the what to expect of now. And I said, well, now women, we just want to know what to do, like how to do this. What's the how to? And I went, how to menopause. And somebody said, you're using it as a verb. And I go, yeah, I know. It's okay. And so I was like, I'm going to
license.
go with it. So anyway, I'm excited about it. We have a lot of different experts in the book hitting on these topics, but also going into things like mindset and going into relationships and divorce during this time, and workplace, career. And it was really dating during menopause and perimenopause. All those things were really important for me to really hit on. So for me, it was important to have a kind of a expert-driven girlfriend vetted guide to it. So we could have conversations and have it spark conversations.
So what do you think about this time of life for a woman postmenopausal?
Yeah.
Like, is this, because you see the memes out there. Then I look at Dolly Parton personally.
Yeah, me too.
Dolly's my North Star.
All of us lucky enough to have grown up watching her.
I'm like, Dolly in a Dallas cheerleader's outfit at 75. She's my North Star. That's it.
I know.
It's all Dolly. So, what would you say to someone at this point? What is your thought process for a woman in their 60s, 70s, 80s?
Yeah, I always kind of look at commercials sometimes, and I look and I'm like, if I see a woman that I know is probably 55 sitting on a bench slowly petting a cat, or sitting there in the park walking through there looking at leaves, I'm going to go crazy, because that's not who these women are nowadays. They're just pretty fabulous. And so I would say that any narrative that we were all given and grew up with, I think, we are quickly dispelling those, and to not take yourself out of the running for anything that you might want to try. Look, there's certain things that I know I'm not going to do, but there's also so many more things that I know I am going to do. And so I feel excited about that. And I think in my mind, I always thought like, 65 is kind of the limit where it starts to slow down and end. Now I'm like 85. I'm looking at my father. He's 85. He's cooking in the kitchen every day. He's got a social group of people. He doesn't even know he's 85. And so that's, I think, what I tried to do for myself, and tried to say to other people, like, stop with the number and moving forward, but you got to take care of yourself, because without that wasn't what we focused on for a very long time. And I think you've got to put that first. That can't be a luxury anymore. It can't be a luxury that you're going to take care of yourself. It has to be mandatory.
Absolutely. Yeah, self-care is not a little thing.
It's not a side project. Yeah.
It's not Friday going to the going to the manicurist.
Right. I got my 20 minutes. No, it's not. It's not just you have got to figure out a way to do that, no matter what that is, even if it's 5 minutes, close the door in a room. Like, I just think it's so important. And I always think back to my mom, because my mom got sick at a very, very young age. And I know now, if it were, if she were here today, I think her outcome would have been very, very different. And so I do think that I've thought about it probably more than most people have, watching your mother be sick at such a young age. But I'm hopeful that, another young girl that was like me, that, has a mom, can, see her, become healthy on the other side of things, or get through something better. But it has to start with, like, taking care of yourself. It really does. And being aware of, the misinformation out there, because that worries me as a journalist and just as a woman.
Well, you're definitely doing your part, making the dent.
Oh,
And
thank you.
literally starting this is basically, even though it's using all your skills, it's a new career.
Yes, it is. It's like, I don't even know what to call it. Thank you. I don't even know what to call it. It is. It's very different. Every day is different. But I know I pop out of bed every day, and I wasn't doing that for a while. Like, I always loved my job, but I wasn't popping out of bed every day. And I am now. And that kind of tells me, tells me I'm in the right direction.
You're on the right path.
I'm on the right path. And I wouldn't be meeting amazing people like you if I weren't on this path. So I'm very grateful for that.
Even though we probably met somewhere along the line, but we were both so stressed out and busy, very busy, that we couldn't do anything about
We
it.
were so busy trying to get to the treadmill. Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I'm sure we have at some point. And if not, I'm grateful we have now.
Yes, yes. Well, I'm definitely going to get into the show notes. We'll put everything at jjvirgin.com/Tamsen. Where did that name come from, by the way?
Isn't that funny? My mom found that name in a book, and I never found the name of the book out because nobody had ever asked me that when I was young. I was like, I don't know.
I'm sure ChatGPT knows.
I know it probably does. It says it's the feminine version of Thompson, which means twin, but I'm not a twin. So I think my mom just liked different names. She was an avid reader. She loved to read fiction, and so I'm assuming that's what it's from. But yeah, Tamsen is first name and Fadal last name. So I had
It
no
just
hope.
very much fits you, too.
Oh, thank you.
So it's jjvirgin.com/Tamsen, TAMSEN. You have super fun Instagram, so
Thank
we'll
you.
definitely link to that. It's very
Well,
fun.
we would have to have you on it. Let's do
your
something
antics are
together.
great. I would love to do that. Let's.
Yeah, that would be
And
really fun.
Are you in LA now? Where are you?
Right now I'm in LA. I'll be back in New York next week, but I go back and forth. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, easy enough. So you've got great Instagram. We'll link so that people can pre-order the book, links so that people can get with their friends and watch the documentary, and then see what else you come up with in your new career path. Isn't it fun that you can be more excited about your career and everything you're doing now in your 50s? Like, come on, right?
Yeah. Unbelievable. I never thought that. I'll tell you, I always hoped in my 30s, I'm like, I hope they're going to still want me. That was what I thought all the time. I hope they're still going to want me. And so when I left, I was like, wow, I can't believe I did that. So every once in a while I pinch myself, like, did you really do that? Because I was always so fearful, of getting older.
Well, I used to do the Hallmark Channel had a show, Home and Family.
Sure.
And I loved Christina Ferraro. Anyway, one day she was just gone.
Yeah.
Aged out.
You know what I'm talking about. I watched one after another.
Whoa. And then you just start to watch people age out. And they're just gone, by the way. You know, in your industry, It's like you're just gone.
They move to another show, then they move to another show, and then they move to another, or then they're not there. And I watched it for a long time, and it was always my fear. And it's interesting. Somebody said to me when I was probably early 30s, she was just being nice. She wasn't being mean in any way. She said, you need to have a backup plan at some point. She was older than me, like 12 years older than me. You need to have a backup plan at some point because, you're eventually going to age out of this job and you're going to need something else to do. And she said, you never see an older woman sitting next to a younger man, but you always see an older man sitting next to a younger woman. And I was like, oh, she's right. When I left, I was sitting next to a younger man. And so I was always really happy about that. And I shared that with her. I was like, I just want you to know, it took 20 years, but
we
the
can
things are
change
starting to
these
change.
things.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
And you're definitely changing those things. Getting this information out is so darn important. I just don't want to see people suffer. And I really do believe that in our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I've got friends in their 70s who are killing it in their careers.
Killing it.
Doing better work than ever. And, so that's really the message out there. So thank you for
And
getting the
relax
word out.
doing it. Don't you feel like that? Don't you feel like they feel like they're just kind of doing it? They're not like panicked about things. They're just
Right.
kind of doing it, which
It's
is a
so
kind of
different.
cool calm to it.
I
Yeah.
always say if I could have, whatever that little flip that switched at 50 could have flipped at 30, it would have been so fabulous.
You
You
and me
know?
I was like, why didn't this come sooner? Like, why was I in such a panic all the time about everything? But,
I know.
you don't know what you don't know.
Well, we know it now. And if you're,
Better late than never.
I know the well beyond 40 people that are in their 40s, the switch will flip. It's going to be fabulous, and you don't have to suffer whatsoever. You can start these things right as things start to go sideways. You'll hear all the symptoms. You'll know
You will know.
that you're not going crazy.
And trust yourself.
Yes. And if you go to a doctor and they think you're crazy, wrong doctor.
Fired.
Yes, we have lots of great resources. So again, jjvirgin.com/Tamsen, Tamsen. And thank you so much. I look forward to meeting you in person somewhere along the line.
Thank you. I really look forward to that.
Be sure to join me next time for more tools, tips, and techniques you can incorporate into everyday life to ensure you look and feel great and are built to last. Check me out on Instagram, Facebook, and my website, jjvirgin.com. And make sure to follow my podcast at subscribetojj.com so you don't miss a single episode. And hey, if you're loving what you hear, don't forget to leave a review. Your reviews make a big difference in helping me reach more incredible women just like you to spread the word about aging powerfully after 40. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Hey, JJ here, and just a reminder that the Well Beyond 40 podcast offers health, wellness, fitness, and nutritional information that's designed for educational and entertainment purposes only. You should not rely on this information as a substitute for, nor does it replace professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you have any concerns or questions about your health, you should always consult with a physician or other healthcare professional. Make sure that you do not disregard, avoid, or delay obtaining medical or health-related advice from your healthcare professional because of something you may have heard on the show or read in our show notes. The use of any information provided on the show is solely at your own risk.